Okay, so let's move on to the next challenge. We've got someone coming in who has content, they've localized it, and the people who are consuming that localized content don't appear to like it. It's not working. How can they what are the signs that it's not working for them, and where should they start looking to find the problem?
I think the first area is to discuss that with your learners or your end clients. What is the problem? Why don't they like it? Is it not culturally relevant for them? Is it about a product that they don't sell in their market? Is it that they don't like the translation? There are a number of different issues that can occur, and I think ideally you'd be trying to avoid that scenario by having discussions right at the very start of the authoring process and talk to all the different markets that are going to use this content and ask them what they want, what's going to work for them. Something like audio content in videos, do they want subtitles or do they need it to have a voiceover? And there can be differences between markets. And I think it's really understanding what the problems are and then going back in the process and trying to figure out how you can solve them, because I think there are all sorts of different barriers and it's understanding where they are. Is it linguistic or is it cultural? Is it technological that they can't actually access the content? And another way to figure out whether those problems exist is to look at the data. Most e-learning platforms and learning management systems have really helpful reporting and data analytics that allows you to see how your content is being used and by who in the different markets or the different languages. So that's a useful way to be able to look out for something that's an anomaly and something that you might need to address.
Say we've got this course that's already localized. What are the steps that we'd be taking to kind of fix it?
You would want to get that feedback, and that might take the form of going through a quality assurance phase. So you have your end learners review the content or your in-market salespeople. You get that feedback and you make changes to the content so that it then meets their needs. And that might be linguistic changes or changes to imagery, changes to how the content is supported and on what platform and so on.
I would say that the way to avoid these situations is to ensure that feedback is built into the process. So while you're localizing, you're also consulting the in-market salespeople who know the market, who know their product, and they can give you specific feedback on whether the content is relevant, addresses their audience well. Also, ensuring that there is a QA step so that you're checking whether the translations appear well in final layout. Do they fit? Do they work in the graphic sort of design of the whole course? And this way you can potentially avoid all these issues further down the line and users complaining. And I would suggest that, ensure that also technical testing is part of the QA step, that you're actually checking it on the final platform where the course will be uploaded, as mistakes sometimes can creep in further down in the process. Not, a course looks great on this test platform, but once you put it in the final context, there is some technical glitches. Maybe something is not configured correctly and it doesn't interact properly with the customer's LMS. So all these elements should be considered, and they can be used to address an existing problem, but equally, if they're part of the process, they can help you prevent the problems occurring in the first place.
What are the things that you can do to build a process that is strong and will continue to work and improve over time?
Yeah, if the translation is the bit that really needs work, from the beginning, there's a few things that you can do to kind of reduce maybe the impact of maybe mistranslations or people being unhappy with the style at the end. And one of those is having some collaboration from the beginning of your in-market review people, either helping in the selection process of translators. So if we identify a team that might be able to work on this, we would get the assessment done and sent over to the client to review and pick, their favorite translator out of those. And during the process, before translation, it'd be good to have a style guide and a glossary created just with those key terms and the way that you want your brand to sound through this e-learning, these courses. And then at the end or throughout the translation process, having a way that translators could potentially collaborate with those review teams. Either I have a client who has Google spreadsheets shared so that the translator can ask a question and immediately get a response from the people who will be the end users or the in-market salespeople for that country. So that can help at least mitigate some linguistic issues down the line.
Yeah, and I think to reiterate Natasha's point, that feedback loop is really important, because there can be a tendency for people to say, oh, I don't like the translation, but it can be quite difficult to say why, or it's quite a subjective feeling of, well, I just don't like it. I don't like the style, or I don't like the tone. It's not that it's incorrect most of the time, or there are errors in it. It's just a personal preference. And the best way for translators to learn is to provide feedback so that they can take that on board, they understand what needs to be changed, and they can learn from it. And if you don't have that feedback loop, it becomes like a doom loop that things are never going to change and nothing's ever going to get better. It's only by having that collaborative relationship that you can improve, and you can improve quality and improve acceptance in the market of the content.